Up podcast, where we interview industry professionals who act down. And today we have actor extraordinaire, Mr. Tray Chaney from The Wire, from Saints and Sinners. And that's just a little clip, a little piece of what you've done.
Thank you,
How
Rhavynn.
you doing?
I'm doing great. That was an amazing introduction, too.
Oh, no, trust
Thank
me.
you.
I could have gone into more detail, but I
all
wanted
love.
to talk to you about it.
Yeah, most definitely. I feel at home already. So, yeah, I'm just happy to be here at the Act Up podcast.
Wow, it's such a pleasure
Yeah.
to have you. Thank you so much of giving of your time, your talents, your information. I feel like we already got gems, and I'm like, okay, let me get on the Tray Chaney conscious diet after this baby, you know. But that's amazing.
For sure, yeah.
Nice. So I want to talk a little bit about, you know, you've been in some really big spaces. So what I mean by that is like doing shows like HBO's The Wire, doing shows like Saints and Sinners.
Right.
Where were you at that place in your career? So, like, how did The Wire come about? The Wire was, like, over 20 years ago, I believe
23
now?
years as of this year.
Oh, my gosh.
And a lot of people don't know, Rhavynn, I started off in this business as a hip-hop artist.
I was going to say musician as well.
At 8 years old, some of the footage that you all seen of me at the Apollo, at 8 years old on the news, winning first place, hanging out with people like Big Daddy Kane, Mike Tyson, who these guys are still like my OGs to this day. But that continued for, I want to say, maybe 10 years. From 8 years old to 18 years old, it was just me performing, because I'm originally from Forestville, Maryland, Washington, D.C.
Oh, okay, nice.
So
DMV?
DMV all day. so just performing at different venues in D.C., and then one in particular, the Lincoln Theater, which is right next to Ben's Chili Bowl.
Oh,
you know, that's like a signature spot in D.C. I win first place at this talent contest. I'm 18 years old, and a woman by the name of Linda Townsend.
Yeah.
Linda Townsend Talent Agency.
Yeah.
She walks up to me and she's like, Tray, I love what you did on stage. You're an amazing rapper. You can dance. She said, I would love to submit you for acting projects.
Oh, nice.
She said, because I don't I don't push, you know, dancers or rappers. I only, you know, work with actors.
Yeah.
So, you know, the question was, she says, so have you ever been on any television shows? And I said, well, only thing I've ever done was take acting I took theater in high school.
Yeah.
Which was Forestville High School. And I said, but I've always wanted to be in this entertainment business, whether it was acting, television, commercials, in some type of way.
Yeah.
So it's so crazy, because she asked me, she said, okay, so do you have headshots? Do you have a resume? I said, well, I have headshots, but the resume only consists of me performing as a rapper.
Wow.
She said, it's this show. It's a pilot right now. It's called HBO's The Wire.
Wow.
I'm going to submit you for this show, and we'll see where it goes from there. You're good at remembering monologues because you write songs. So my first audition ever was The Wire.
Are you serious?
A lot of people, this is the first time I'm saying that on the Act Up podcast.
Wow.
A lot of people don't know my first audition ever was HBO's The Wire.
Way to knock it out the park on the very first try.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I just remember walking in, Pat Moran, who was the casting director out there in Baltimore. I remember walking in, and she said, Slate. And I just stared at her like, what are you talking about, Slate?
Yes.
She's like, your name, your name, first and last name, your height, you know, who represents you. And I'm like, okay, well, and I was just truthful with her. I was like, well, this is my first time doing this. I don't know what that is. She's like, well, say this in the camera. So I slated my first and last name, where I was from, who I represented, and the character that I was reading for. After that, she said, okay, on action, do the monologue.
Yeah.
The monologue, the character that I actually read for was Weebay. So shout out to my man Hassan Johnson. So initially I read for Weebay.
Okay.
And I just remembering the monologue, and she's like, okay. Yeah. And I'm like, that's it? And she's like, yeah, you know, that was it. You did good.
Wow.
So I leave, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I felt like, I never did this before. I don't know if this is something that's going to come into fruition, me being on a show. And I just remember it was 3 weeks later, and she called and said, you have a callback. And I'm like, a callback? What is that? Because I was I was so green to whatever all of this stuff was, right? So she said, you got to call back. You're not necessarily cast for the role, but the writer and the producers and the director wants to see you.
Yeah.
So I walk into the room again, and David Simon, the creator of The Wire.
Wow.
He's there. Clark Johnson, who was the director, Nina Noble, all of the producers and some executives from HBO. So I go in, and this time when she said slate, I was ready. I'm Tray Chaney. I'm 5'5". You know, I did my whole slate. And when she said, go ahead and read the monologue, I remember I froze.
Ooh.
Like I literally froze, and she was like, okay, read the monologue. And I said, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. This is my first time doing this. And I don't know what made me say that right there in front of them. And they all kind of laughed. And they were like, okay, we understand it's your
and this is your callback.
This is my callback.
Yeah, I love that.
So I'm like, this is my first time doing this. So they said, all right, it's cool. We know it's your first time, but this time get it right. That's exactly what they said. They were laughing and then just straight face. This time get it right.
Wow.
And through the grace of God, I remember the monologue. And again, I left thinking, whatever. I don't know what this is all about. I don't know if I'm going to get it. Then I get a call 2 weeks later, and Linda Townsend, she said, Tray, you didn't get cast for the character Weebay, but they cast you for this character named Malik Pukar. So I said, okay. She said, you're only going to be in the first 2 episodes in the first season, like if it gets picked up.
Yeah.
So if people recall like watching The Wire, the first episode, I said nothing.
Wow.
I was just around, you know, Michael B. Jordan, who played Wallace, Lawrence Gilliard, who played D'Angelo, J.D. Williams, who was Bodie. And I didn't say nothing in the first episode. And then, you know, once it was picked up, HBO's like, okay, they got 13 episodes. This is going to be something on HBO. The second episode comes, and I have maybe like 2 or 3 lines. Third episode, fourth episode. Then next thing you know, recurring, 13 episodes, first season.
Wow.
So I'm a part of a show, and keep in mind this hasn't aired yet. So while I'm shooting it, I think it aired June 2nd, 2002. So once The Wire airs, maybe like around the 5th or 6th episode, I'm getting calls from clubs. People are like, hey, I got this amount of money for you to come do an appearance. And I'm like, they're like, yeah, you Pooh from The Wire. And I'm like, oh, all right, cool. Right. So I'm getting this experience like for my first job. Like I always tell people, I never knew what it was like to wait in line. I didn't know at a club. I straight to VIP, right?
Yeah.
So we end up doing 5 seasons. And I know this is like a spoiler alert, but I end up being the last man standing on The Wire.
Come on.
So so I was only supposed to be in the first 2 episodes in the first season. Then next thing you know, Malik Pukar, 5 seasons. And those were some of the greatest years of my life, 2002 to 2008.
That's incredible.
Yeah. Oh man, but hold up. I mean, round of applause for that. But after it ended,
we're gonna talk about it.
Oh
we're gonna talk about it.
I had to recreate my whole brand.
So I forgot to offer you something to drink. You said you wanted some water.
Yeah, I'll take some water.
Can we get him some water? I'm sorry.
I'll take some water.
Brought to you by
Give me the best water.
Patrick. Yes. You want some cold? You want some ice? Cold room temperature?
It could be room temperature water.
Okay, I got
the
room temperature. It's in the closet.
Yeah.
But it's in there. I'm so happy that you shared that.
Yeah.
As I was listening to you, I'm like, oh, what is for you is for you.
And I think like you.
Yes. And I think that there's so many actors that are so afraid to like mess up, do the wrong thing, forget the lines, look silly, look foolish. And here you are in a callback with, the biggest people in Hollywood, like, I ain't never did this before. And you still got the role, And I think,
I know, because, still keeping in contact with them to this day, 20-something years later.
Wow.
They like, your audition, you were who we were looking for because you kept it real.
Love it.
And we wanted real people,
Authentic,
and I'm authentic from, like I said, Fullsville, Maryland, Washington, D.C. The Wire was a show that tackled, the war on drugs and drug dealers, cops, and different things of that nature. So just my upbringing, seeing that in different neighborhoods that I might have been running around in, I seen that type of,
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, brother.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
You're the best. Wow, that's incredible. So, and it's like, and you didn't just book any show.
Yeah.
You booked like what is, from the list that I've seen, is like always like one of the top 10 shows of all time.
Appreciate
that you booked on the first
job.
try.
First audition.
Okay, so I want to talk about going from that transition to The Wire to not The Wire. And what I mean by that is when you have when you knock it out the park so young, so early, how do you transition through life, through figuring out who you are, through auditioning again when you've been for 5 years on this huge known project?
So I was 20 going on 21. So when The Wire was on, from 21 to maybe like 27, right? Mm-hmm. And all I was used to was the fame, and traveling, but when the show ended in 2008, I'm automatically thinking, oh yeah, I'm big. I'm where the next role at? I'm calling Leonard Townsend like, okay, my next job is coming. All right, Trey, you got a couple auditions for this, and this was only in DC. I wasn't like bi-coastal. I wasn't in LA. I wasn't in Atlanta or New York. So I'm auditioning, and a year goes by. I don't book anything, not even a commercial. So I'm like, all right, well, whatever. I'm still, around this time, it's maybe 2009, 2010. 2 years go by. So I'm auditioning, but I'm not booking.
Yeah.
I moved to LA. I said, okay, I'm gonna move to LA. Leonard Townsend had affiliates out there from the agency in LA. So I said, all right, I'm gonna go to LA. That's gonna be the best move for me. At the time, my parents were 100% behind me. And I just had a real great support system with whatever I wanted to do in my career. Okay, cool. So I get to LA, and it's a whole different ball game. And I'm like, some of these casting directors and writers and producers, they like, we never seen The Wire before.
Wow.
So I'm like, wait a minute, I'm on HBO. Like, so I'm auditioning out there. And I stayed in LA maybe for, I want to say almost a year, not booking. I still wasn't booking anything.
Yeah.
So I go home, and at the time, I'm married.
Yeah.
I got married in 2002. Me and my wife been married for 20 years.
Wow.
No, 2004. We've been married for 20 years. So, it's, I think the disappointment and the rejection was just weighing on me. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I got a family, I got a wife, I got kids. And I'm like, I'm not booking any jobs. So I'm going to tell you, like 2010, a good friend of mine, his name is Torrance Hall. He said, Trey, because I was real discouraged. He said, Trey, look, The Wire is The Wire. I can't really tell you if you're going to get something else, but let's use The Wire as a stepping stone. People around the world know who you are. You wrote a book, right? I'm like, yeah, I got a book out. It's called The Truth You Can't Betray. He said, you still rapping and you have music and CDs. Yeah, I got a t-shirt line on my website, ChaneyWay.com. He said, brother, we should get out in the streets of Washington, D.C. on the corners and sell your merch out the trunk of your car. You'll be surprised the type of fan base that you would gain from that. And at the time, this is 2010, I'm like, man, I'm not getting out on the streets selling merch out the trunk of my car. I ain't getting no job. I end up getting a job in 2010. Everything I said I wasn't going to do, I end up doing it. So I get a job at this law firm called Howry & Simon.
Wow.
So at first, walking into a 9-to-5 after being on such a large show, you get people that's double taking like.
I was going to say, did people ever recognize you? Like, were you at the law firm and people were like,
oh,
poop,
every day.
Like,
they
okay,
like,
got you.
What are you doing here?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm in between my career and I need to still make a living. I got a wife and kids. So
Mhm.
so while I'm doing that, on my lunch break, I'm on the corners of Washington, D.C., selling merch out the trunk of my car. Your average 9 to 5, corporate people walking past. Hey, you Poof from the Wire? Yeah, man. I'm Poof, Tray Chaney, Poof from the Wire. Look, I got a book out. This is it. So the whole time that I'm going through whatever I'm going through with not booking, I'm still gaining a fan base from the streets in the job. So it's people that's like, okay, I'll sponsor a book tour. So that was the way I was making money. People just supporting my brand. It's still people to this day, because I run a website, ChaneyWay.com, that are customers of mine from 2010.
Wow.
So I was learning, okay, you got to kind of like have a life outside of the entertainment business.
Absolutely.
So during my journey and learning this and certain lessons of still auditioning and not getting booked, next thing you know, it's 2015. I still haven't booked I guess what they would consider a mainstream job like The Wire.
Yeah.
So from 2008 to 2015.
Wow.
No bookings. So I'm thinking in my head, okay, you know what? I got a fan base now. I'm getting paid to do this and do this off my website. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Next thing you know, George Pierre, he calls in 2015 and says, Trey, I remember you had auditioned for a movie called Stump the Yard a long time ago, and I remember your audition from years ago. I have a project for you. It's called Saints and Sinners.
Wow.
But you got to come to Atlanta. We're going to fly you to Atlanta, because meanwhile, I was still living in D.C. So they fly me to Atlanta, and he said, straight to offer is no audition. So I'm like, oh, okay. I know what that is. I don't got to audition. I got another gig. So Trey, we're going to introduce you as the son of the two main characters in the season finale, because we've already shot the season. It's on Bounce TV. So when I get on set, it's Clifton Powell and Vanessa Bell Calloway. They're like, yeah, you playing their son. Just like that. So I'm like, okay. I shoot the episode, go back home to D.C., where a lot of stuff is not going on in D.C. as far as our entertainment industry is concerned. It's political. Once I get home, the show airs in 2015, 2016. They call me back and say, we've been renewed for a second season. We're going to fly you back out. This was the first time I had been flown somewhere to another city, another state to shoot a project for a certain amount of months.
Yeah.
So they're like, we're going to fly you back out. I'm out here in Atlanta for like 3-4 months. My wife comes to visit during second season, and my wife looks at me and says, why are we still living in D.C.?
Wow.
And I'm like, what you mean, why we still living in D.C.? We need to move to Atlanta. She said, if you're going to be on this show and every time you come home back to D.C. and leaving us 2 and 3 months at a time, while I'm home with the kids, you out here, we flying back and forth. She like, why don't we just take a jump? Yeah. And sometimes as men, it takes your woman to jump you out there, because as men, we like, okay, we got everything figured out. But when you get approached with something like that, like the unforeseen, moving to another city, another state, it was, for me, it was like that confirmation. Okay, God is moving us in a certain direction where we're going to agree on this. We're going to make this move. And once the second season of Saints and Sinners was over, me and my wife decided to move to Atlanta in 2017.
Okay.
So we moved to Atlanta in 2017, and I always tell people this, that was the first time I had ever felt fear.
Really?
Getting in that U-Haul truck.
What was that fear about?
It was the unforeseen of, I'm moving to another city, another state, regardless of who I am, regardless of the job I have, I know nobody here.
Yeah.
My mom, my dad, my sisters, brothers, my whole entire family still lives in D.C.
Yeah.
And I'm moving to Atlanta with my wife and my son, who was 8 years old at the time, 10. So that was the fear. The fear was, I don't know how this is going to turn out. I remember, because when you down at Atlantic Station at the 12, when I'm living there, they got me put up out there,
right?
But so everybody that comes and visits, like, oh yeah, this Atlanta,
right?
This ATL. But when you move to like,
you go about 20
move
miles
to like Clayco,
out, yeah, exactly.
You in Clayton County, I'm like, hold up,
You like this
this
is South.
This ain't the rooftop that I was on, and
Right,
I'm looking out the window like, hold up. So when we first moved to Atlanta, we were renting a house.
Yeah.
And so that's 2017.
Yeah.
I'm still working on the show, Saints and Sinners. And, you know, as the time was going, let's fast forward, 2020 hits. So it's the pandemic.
Yeah.
So it's like, God, what is happening? Like, what, again, production stopped.
Yeah.
You don't know if it's going to come back. I started really putting a lot of time and energy into my business with, you know, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. And again, like, because the hustle in me comes from DC, me standing on them corners and knowing if I don't have, I got to find a way to get it.
Yeah.
The legal way. Not illegal.
Right. Not the wire way.
Yeah, not the wire way.
Right.
But to make a long story short, Rhavynn, it ended up working out. You know, it ended up working out even during COVID, and then when productions opened back up, even though we had to get the, you know what I'm saying, the COVID testing and wearing the mask and everything, Saints and Sinners was still going on for me.
Oh, I have so many questions for you, but so I want to start with it just feels like there's just like a beautiful favor on your life. And what I mean by that is, like, I'm not saying that you didn't do this. Like, so many actors are striving, like pushing, trying to make things happen. And it feels like two of the biggest things happened to you, and it was just like it's not like you had to strive, like you were guided there. Yes, you had to work for sure, but it feels like there was a flow that led you to The Wire, that led you to Saints and Sinners, that led you to Atlanta.
Right.
How did you not get in the way of that flow? Like, how did you not self-sabotage that in your own life?
I think for me, well, not think, I know, it was always about still having a life outside of the entertainment industry. So for me, the way I didn't get in the way of my own self, it was like, okay, whatever is meant for me will find me, because I've had the experience of that happening.
Yeah.
So just in understanding, you know, having a wife, having kids, and there's so many other things, responsibilities that I have outside of the business. And that's how I feel like, you know, I didn't self-sabotage myself, and then just being open to change.
Yeah.
And one of those changes was when I moved here in 2017, got adjusted. I mean, you know, 8 years later, and we living well out here in Atlanta, but it's like you gotta trust God, and you gotta adjust to whatever changes is coming into your life. And that's how I've been able to navigate.
I love that. And you speak about your wife.
Yeah.
Is she in the industry?
No, Aisha is not in the industry.
Okay.
She is an amazing fashion designer, though, and she actually
nice.
designed this jacket. I told her I was coming to the Act Up podcast.
Oh, come on.
She said, "Oh no, I gotta give you something fresh to wear."
What's the name? Does she have what's the name of her company?
ChaneyWay.com is our website.
Oh, okay,
so
nice.
She sells the merch on there, and like I said, me and my wife, we've been together for 23 years, and we've been married for 20.
That's amazing.
2 amazing kids. My son is 18. He goes to Savannah State. And he's studying theater, and my daughter is 31, and we got a 4-year-old granddaughter.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So what was that like for you all as a unit? Like, I'm sure it's not easy. Yeah. You know, I can't imagine going from that transition of, you know, your wife being married to the Tray Chaney, and then you go like 7-8 years without having booked any gigs, and this is not her industry. So I think somebody in the industry may understand, okay, like, these are the ebbs and flows. So, like, how did y'all manage to stay together, to stay strong, to stay connected throughout those massive transitions? So,
in like I said, I love this platform, and I love being honest and truthful. So, it was a period where me and my wife separated in 2010. And that was because I was so, like, filled with just entertainment. And when things wasn't going my way, I wasn't thinking about her or my family.
Yeah.
And I can honestly say that.
Yeah.
It was just like, because we were used to a certain way since I've been in the business.
Of course.
Me and my wife been together before when I was leading up into getting the wire. That's how long we've been together.
Wow.
So she seen from the bottom.
Yeah.
She seen at a high level. She seen the middle. But then, like I said, once the show was over with, my whole mindset wasn't focusing on them.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, oh, I ain't get this audition. So if I'm discouraged, I'm bringing that energy in the house, and it's the communication stops. You know, so it's like, I'm not okay. You got to deal with the kids. I'm worried about going to go get this next job, not knowing I should have been, again, having a life outside of the business.
Yeah.
Because that right there, when we separated in 2010, the crazy thing is, I ended up moving next door. We were in an apartment. I ended up moving next door to my wife. Her apartment building was here. My apartment building was here.
Wow.
To this day, my son is just finding out that we did not have two places. You know?
Wow.
So I ended up moving next door, and the argument that we had for 1 year, we separated, was, why'd you leave? And I'm asking her, well, why'd you let me leave?
Ooh.
Why'd you leave? Why'd you let me leave? We wasn't communicating.
Yeah.
She said, I was always your support system. Whatever you were going through, I was here. But you were neglecting my feelings and your kids' feelings. Like, you're a regular human being. You're not poop from the wire.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? So I had to, once we had a conversation a year later after all of the arguments, and we asked each other again. She said, well, why'd you leave? And I had the answer then. I said, to be truthful, my mind was on a business that's so unpredictable and is filled with broken promises. And here, I had my family life. This is what, if I focus on this, everything else will come.
Yeah.
And that's what got us back together and never left each other's side again.
Wow.
To this day.
Wow. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that.
Sure.
Because I think people need to know, like, it wasn't all roses and
no.
you know, and
Not at all.
and those transitions are hard, and they're hard on families, and they're hard on relationships. So I love that you shared that.
For sure.
So you've shared the set, shared space with a lot of really remarkable artists and actors. So is there someone that you got the privilege of working with in any project that you've done that you're like completely mesmerized by? Like for me, I've never worked with this person, but I got a chance to meet Sidney Poitier before he passed away. Yeah. And I've met him for probably about 15 seconds, and I was sold, like completely mesmerized within that 15 seconds. Yeah. Do you have that person for you?
Glenn Turman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Glenn worked on The Wire.
Yes.
You know, so just the experience of working with somebody like Glenn.
Yeah.
And now, you know, when we see each other maybe years later, he's like, yeah, man, remember we did that? But looking at him as a legend, and him knowing who I am and whatever type of advice. Also, Vanessa Bell Calloway.
Amazing.
You know, Vanessa Bell Calloway that's family.
Yeah.
You know, it's on and off screen. On screen, it was almost like an acting class for me, just playing her son.
Yeah.
Because it was so much off screen, and she's taught me. And even, you know, business-wise, personally, and Vanessa Bell Calloway was definitely one. And I got to shout out Clifton Powell. If it wasn't for Clifton Powell, I wouldn't even have an agent.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't have an agent on The Wire. It was just a talent manager.
Yeah.
And, you know, me coming from the streets, and it's like, I didn't know what the agent and management, but then after we did maybe 2 seasons of Saints and Sinners, he's like, who's your agent? And I'm like, I don't have an agent.
Wow.
And he's like, I'm gonna link you with Joy Purvis. I'm gonna link you with my agent.
So what has this experience, you know, you conquered your fear, you actually came here. Yeah. What has this Atlanta experience been like for you? So he's been here for like almost 8 years, I believe.
8 years. Yep.
So what has that been like for you? How has it made you grow? Yeah. Do you love it? Do you are like, why did I come to Atlanta? I could have been in DC.
Moving to Atlanta was one of the best decisions for me and my family. You know, and for family purposes, for business purposes, for just our personal life.
Yeah.
And the cost of living, it's been incredible for us here. Entertainment wise, Atlanta is the place I always tell people where you can sit at a restaurant or sit in the lounge or something and meet
Yeah.
somebody that's doing exactly what you're doing or pushing to do what you do, and connect with them.
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, you on set
Yeah.
shooting something. So networking for me, because I'm a people's person.
Yeah.
So networking and just opening up, us sharing ideas, experiences, it's really been beneficial. And
Nice.
I'm in a position where I'm able to produce my own content now, whether it's films or television shows or podcasts or different things of that nature.
Yeah.
And that came from being able to network with like-minded people like I am in ATL.
Yeah.
And even me having an agent, now I've had Joy for the last 6-7 years.
Yeah, I love Joy.
So her submitting me on projects and me being able to show up on camera and do these self-tapes and stuff. I wasn't getting this back home in DC.
Got you.
And there's nothing wrong with DC with the entertainment industry, but certain places that you have to go.
Yeah.
You got to go where it's at.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And here at this time, this is for me, it's been working out for me living in ATL.
I love that. I love that. So you mentioned that you produced your own content.
Yeah.
Is that something that you are actively doing right now? Are you actively like putting that producer hat on?
Yeah, so I've been putting the producer hat on, the executive producer hat. Sometimes, like I said, a lot of us independent, we might struggle with the finances.
Oh,
so
you don't have to tell me. I totally understand.
So in certain ways, to navigate around that, whether it's
I was gonna say, how do you navigate around that?
Well, I've been blessed, like I said, to just be in the business for a long enough time where you network and you meet certain industry people that might be interested in, well, Trey, what is it that you're working on right now? How can I assist?
Yeah.
Or how can we partner?
Yeah.
More than likely it's a partnership where it's like, well, look, I can bring this to the table. What do you bring to the table? And let's make this work together.
Okay.
And along with going in with the mindset of it is a risk.
Yeah.
If we putting up money and we about to shoot this project, you never know if it's going to do very well or very bad. So I've been blessed with partners of mine, Dana Freeman, Anthony Clark, who's really just a part of this whole Chaney Vision Entertainment team, my company.
Yeah.
And together we just been able to put these projects out. I did a project called Hidden Lives where I reached back to Clifton Powell and cast him as a lead in my project.
I love it.
And it just felt good, like negotiating with him, saying, oh, that's what you want? All right, here.
Yeah.
And people like J.D. Williams, who played Bodie on The Wire, he's in the project as well. And, we put Hidden Lives out on certain platforms like Tubi and Amazon. And
I love
to see these movies do well in that type of market now, because Tubi, that's like a lot of people are being discovered from Tubi.
It's thriving,
Yeah, so, just being able to produce and as well as star in. And like I said, just giving other people an opportunity who may have gave me an opportunity when I was lost and didn't know, and now I'm able to give back in that type of way.
I love that.
It's not easy,
but
at the same time, we making it happen.
Before we go into our questions that I ask every guest,
okay,
what are you looking forward to?
You know what? I'm looking forward to working on more incredible projects that tell a story, because I've been very blessed to be a part of something that we sitting up here talking about 23 years later. A show like The Wire, Saints and Sinners, and then with me, my guest appearance on BMF, and these award-winning shows like Swarm and We Own This City. I've been a part of the culture and still a part of the culture, and I want to do things, in our field that pushes the culture forward. Yeah. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
I love that. You already doing it. So
thank you.
All right. Okay. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
What has been your favorite age thus far?
My favorite age thus far, I'm gonna say the 40s, because I'm 43.
Okay.
So, but I'm gonna say the 40s because the lessons that were learned from leading all the way up into the 40s.
Yeah.
And me, like, having my wife, having my kids, having a family structure, like how I grew up seeing, because my mom and dad been married for over 43 years.
Wow.
So seeing that example and me now being like, okay, I've been married for 20, that's that's like a great thing for me.
I love
Yeah.
that. So do you teach like marriage enrichment classes? I mean, like you have a whole, you know,
Well,
it's amazing that your family, your parents have also been married for a very
yeah.
long time.
Yeah, well, you know what? On the website, me and Aisha, we have this consultation thing where we share our story because, like I
Okay.
said, we talk a lot about, you know, how we met, you know, because people ask like, how are you with somebody for 23 years, 20 years, and the whole blended family thing? Because
Yeah.
another thing I wanted to share is when I met my wife, I also met my 8-year-old daughter, but I
Wow.
never considered Martina a stepdaughter. We don't use that word.
Right,
You know,
right.
so regardless of the circumstances with her biological father,
Yes.
step up. I love your mom. I love you. I'm gonna take care of you. I got it.
I love that.
So raising her all the way up into that point of now she's 31. Like I said, we got a 4-year-old granddaughter.
Wow.
A lot of men are like, how'd you do that? Because I might struggle in that area, or what's the communication like? How do you communicate? You'll be surprised. A lot of couples, you got to communicate on every level.
Yes.
If it's an issue, resolve the issue. You know what I'm saying? And it has to be on every level, where good and bad.
Yeah.
But it's never a bad. As long as we living and breathing, everything is all good.
I love that. I love that. If you weren't an actor, artist, you're so much more than that. I feel like even silly asking you this question. But if you weren't an actor, what would you be doing? Or business owner, you know, fashion, music. Yes.
You know what? Actually, what I'm pursuing right now, which is real estate.
Really?
Yeah. Me and my team are pursuing with the buying properties, flipping properties, and I'm gonna get my real estate license. So that's what I would be. I feel that's what I would be doing.
Are you doing this in Georgia or other places outside, or just in the U.S.?
I'm doing it in ATL.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
What county? I'm very interested.
Well,
just looking.
Well, right now I'm just looking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't name.
Let me know. I'm trying to get some secrets. I'm like, where do I need to go? Okay.
I got you.
Do you prefer brunch or happy hour?
I prefer brunch, because brunch.
Yes.
You can eat and you can drink your favorite drink. You get the best of both worlds.
I love it.
Yeah.
What do you love about being an artist in this Southeast region?
What I love about being an artist in the Southeast region is just being so many people that you can network with. They're tangible. You can actually reach out.
Yeah.
You know, and the network. You know, like I said, you can go to your favorite brunch spot and catch whoever is, you know, in the business doing something here. That's one thing I really experienced. A lot of my connections right now came from being at a place out here. Oh, what do you do? Or if I'm out shopping, hey man, I seen that you do this. I'm a director. I got a project for you. We got a budget.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, wow, you can really navigate through Atlanta and run into the next whoever you can put your mind to and make something happen.
I've met more people here in Georgia than I have any other city. I totally
agree with that. I feel the same way.
What's been the most challenging thing that you've done lately?
What has been the most challenging thing that I've done lately? I guess to touch back on what I'm saying as far as getting into real estate.
Yeah.
Because that's something that I don't think I would have thought about until now at this space in my career. Like,
gotcha.
What's the pivot, Trey? Just in case, again, you go back to 2010 when nothing is happening.
Gotcha.
So my pivoting moment right now for me is just, all right, let me go get my license. Let me do something that I probably wouldn't have never thought I would do. So challenging right now is, okay, that means you got to read, you got to study, you got to follow through on your own word. Like, keeping my word to myself is what may have been a challenging thing. Not no more though, because now I'm like, okay, it's time to keep it. If I told myself I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna follow through and I'm gonna do it.
Another question. This has been a really weird, kind of challenging time in our industry. And like, you know, a lot of people are not working because we had pandemics and then strikes and then fires. So how has any of that been affecting you, and how has it been affecting you?
I'm gonna be honest with you, Rhavynn. Like, just overall, you know, if you're not getting called for auditions, if you're not or if you go on maybe 1 or 2 auditions here and there and you don't book, that's a challenge within itself mentally. But
Yeah.
then it's okay, that's Tray Chaney, the actor.
Yeah.
Now, Tray Chaney, the man, the head of my household, what are you going to do? And that's where the running the business takes away from whatever challenges that I'm dealing with mentally in the industry. I run a business. I actually bought you a gift.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know if nobody ever gave you a gift, but this is me and Aisha's new fragrance. It's a unisex fragrance called iBody.
I was going to say you smell good now.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
And it's the best smelling unisex fragrance that you ever smelled. And, you know, Valentine's Day is coming up.
Okay.
And I think this would be an amazing gift for you.
Oh, look at that. Do you mind if I get a little spray of it?
Yeah, go ahead and spray it. Yeah, Bop.
Oh, this is good.
Right there, ChaneyWay.com.
It smells delicious.
Yeah, it's on ChaneyWay.com, and that right there, my wife created it. It's not sold in stores.
Wow.
Because we ain't going through no middlemen. We are the bosses of it, and it's on ChaneyWay.com. And like I said, being able to run my business and having merch on my website and acting classes, because I teach from a space of, okay, Trey, what did you do in the auditions?
Yes.
Like, how do you tap into certain character emotions? How do you identify? So I teach acting classes on my site. I have consultation. I have an album, 21 songs, 17 video shot that MTV and BET, they really support me. So back to that question on how has the industry affected me if I'm not working? I might not be working there, but I'm working over here.
You have so
that iBody working.
Yes, absolutely.
That's working for me.
You have so many streams, which I feel like I love that about you and your work, because it allows you, I think, to be an even better actor. Where you're not putting so much pressure and stress on yourself about having a book and having to make it happen. It's like, oh, I have all these other things that are also that I'm also able to indulge in and pursue. I love that.
And then I feel like we said earlier, whatever is for you, it will find you.
Yes.
And I just feel like sometimes, and I share this with my other colleagues in acting, I tell them, after you audition, as long as you gave it your best, it's not up to you after that.
Yeah.
Let whatever transpires from that happen, but you have to, it's almost like pivoting your mind.
Yeah.
To go to another space that makes you feel incredible. Let's get on our health kick. You want to go to the gym?
Absolutely.
Read your favorite book or listen to your favorite song or hang out with your family. And that's what I've been, blessed to be able to do.
I love it. Last but not least, what makes you feel alive?
What makes me feel alive? Being a husband, a father, a grandfather, the best son to my mom and dad, the best brother to my sister Candace, and I'm a very family-oriented person.
Yeah.
And again, the people that I just named, to be able to still reach out and call them, because we live in a day and age right now where you here today and you gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I don't take life for granted. Life makes me alive.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So inspiring, Trey.
Thank you.
So inspiring.
Thank you.
I know you mentioned it, but where can people find out about your businesses, yourself, your classes?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, and they can go to Tray Chaney Vision, TrayChaney Vision, and ChaneyWay.com, ChaneyWay.com. And ChaneyWay.com is a one-stop shop that has all of my information, has the contact information. Anybody that actually supports the merch or the brand or the products on there, it goes directly to my phone, because what I'm doing is direct-to-consumer communication.
Nice.
My documentary is on there as well, Undeniable, the Tray Chaney story.
Come on.
It's a 3-part documentary, but it's 45 minutes. And what it is, it's encouraging the next man or woman to never give up on their dreams. It shows me at 8 years old, all the way up until maybe the first or second season of The Wire. And then it talks about how after The Wire ended, how I had to rebrand myself and stay consistent and dedicated and committed to the craft. And the craft can be the entertainment business, or it can just be being a man, your personal life. So it's encouraging people, and it's also on my YouTube channel, Tray Chaney 1.
I love it. You have been such an advocate for yourself and your work, and I think that's totally remarkable.
Thank you.
Bravo. Thank you so
baby.
much for being on the podcast. I appreciate it.
I had so much fun.
Give it up, give it up, give
Yes.
it up. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you, Rhavynn.
Tray.
I appreciate it.
This